Hello there, this is Reverend Steve from the Higashi Honganji Mission of Hawaii. Good to be speaking to you again. Begin with the Gasho. Nama Mirabutsu, Nama Mirabutsu, Nama Mirabutsu. So yeah, thank you so much everybody for braving the ciclovia, road closures and things like that. It's a tremendous amount of fun. I hope some of you may be riding today, but getting to the temple can be a little tricky on these days. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about the Pure Land. You know, we are a Jodo Shinshu temple. That's the, Jodo meaning pure land. So I figured that it would be something that a lot of the people here were kind of asking me questions about. So I wanted to do a Dharma talk on that subject. So during my first year living in Japan, I occasionally help out at Higashi Honganji's main temple in Kyoto, our Higashi Honganji Honzan. And I would help out by giving tours to English-speaking members and school groups, kind of explaining the history of the temple and answering their questions. And so we would often be asked about what kind of Buddhist temple Higashi Honganji is, because it's very different from many of the temples that tourists have seen elsewhere in Asia. We don't wear the saffron-colored robes. The ministers, even though they might not have noticed, are able to get married. It seems very different from what you would find in mainland and Southeast Asia. And so, as Reverend Ken Yamada describes in his web article about the Pure Land, one of the most often asked questions we get from people is, what is that? What is a Pure Land? We're considered to be a Pure Land Buddhist temple, so naturally people visiting will be curious as to what that means. It's different from kind of the understanding of the Buddha and then his teachings and his life and death. Where does this Pure Land thing come in? And so, as we know, the sutras are stories told to us by, they are said to have come from the historical Buddha Shakyamuni, a story that illustrates the Dharma teachings for many different audiences of people. So, I think they said 10,000 different talks, just depending on what audience he was talking to, kind of what they would need to bring them to awakening. And so you would always have the perfect thing to tell them. And so the Amida Sutra is kind of interesting. It's kind of special because it's a Dharma talk. It's a sermon that was delivered spontaneously by the Buddha without someone prompting him or asking him. Without being asked or prompted, Shakyamuni begins to describe this faraway land in great detail. He talks about the physical features and the structures and the creator of this Pure Land, which is a Buddha that is, he would say much more ancient than himself, named Amida. He talks about the physical appearance and structure, the plants and animals that exist in this land, and this land of supreme bliss. So in the sutras, it's Shakyamuni says, in that Buddha land, Shariputra, where soft breezes waft through rows of jeweled trees and jeweled nets, they produce subtle, wonderful sounds. It's as if 100,000 musical instruments were playing together. Everyone who hears the sounds spontaneously becomes mindful of the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Shariputra, that Buddha land, is filled with such splendid adornments. So in this passage, Shakyamuni is creating a picture for those who are listening. The teachings can be very difficult for us to understand, so he uses a teaching tool of describing this place as kind of like a fantastical, like unbelievably beautiful realm, as wonderful as the people of that time could possibly imagine. So for the seekers who listened to that sutra in the ancient times, who may have never really, had the opportunity to see a gem or gold or, crystals in their lives. This would have been something almost indescribably special. But the Pure Land, it represents this place where anyone, no matter what your background, class, education, or gender, you'd be able to hear the Dharma and instantly become enlightened. It is incomprehensibly large and incomprehensibly beautiful, and it represents the power of the Dharma that is laid down by Amida Buddha in this sutra. So this Pure Land is intended to contrast with the impure and diluted world that we live in. So upon hearing of this Pure Land, we're encouraged to aspire towards that land ourselves. And so during the thousands of years after the Buddha's death, the three Pure Land Sutras, the larger sutra, the Contemplation Sutra, and the smaller or Amida Sutra, would continue to inspire and attract people who are seeking this land of peace and equality as Buddhism spread from India to China to Japan. And so each culture that encountered the Pure Land teachings would create art that tried to depict the Pure Land. And so it was depicted in mandalas, paintings, sculptures, scrolls, and architecture too. I've talked about this many times before, but the shape and all the adornments in the Naijin, or the inner altar space of a Buddhist temple like ours, all of these things are designed to put you in mind of the Pure Land. During a service, the chanting by ministers, the voices of the members chanting together, the smell of the incense, all these things are kind of our each week recreating the Pure Land, through art, architecture, all of the different senses are designed to be kind of awakened and activated by this, sort of like three-dimensional recreation of the Pure Land. But, it's very difficult for us to envision a world that is so fantastical just in our mind's eyes. What would a land filled with jeweled trees, giant flowers, and birds that sing the Dharma even look like? And so I think that the beauty that Shakyamuni describes Amida's Pure Land with it's that way of trying to describe a world of pure learning. So all these things, the trees, it's sort of like, you can hear the sound of the Dharma from them. The birds that they sing, and they're singing the sutras out there. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that are within this Pure Land that are being described as the sutras. It's kind of that world of pure learning. And so aside from the description of what the Pure Land looks like, the larger sutra goes into detail through the 48 vows of Dharmakara, the seeker who becomes Amida Buddha. These vows detail what will and what will not be found in the land that he's seeking to create, this Buddha land. In this story, Dharmakara is the architect, creating a floor plan, creating a design for exactly what this place, free from discrimination and ignorance, will physically look like. And so, in our everyday lives, it seems like the Pure Land is impossibly far away from our own difficult reality. Every day on the TV and social media, we can see war, intolerance, the effects of our economic system prioritizing profits over the environment and health of the people. This is the Mappo, this is the latter age of the Dharma, this is the defiled world. This is the same world that Shinran saw, that it would be almost impossible with all the distractions and ignorance in the world and in ourselves to be able to lift ourselves, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps to enlightenment through, the traditional practices. But I think the reality is that the Pure Land is, it's inseparable from this confused, chaotic, this defiled world that we're living in right now. And so the Pure Land is our state of mind when we find an epiphany. When we experience something, we hear something from a Dharma friend or family member, or otherwise come to see the world through unclouded eyes, even for a short while. It's that eureka moment, it's that aha moment. You may be listening to a friend talking about their experience with cancer. It may be hearing about something that your parents or your grandparents said that, it resonates with you. It's reminds you of a Buddhist teaching that is sort of resonating with you. It's when the false nature of this shifting everyday world falls away. The scales fall from our eyes, and what is left is a shining world of wisdom of the Buddha Dharma. That is the Pure Land that we're living in right now. The idea of the Pure Land, I think, is that it's a world where everything is designed to awaken us. So in the ancient times, Shakyamuni used, and the people who studied the Pure Land used those metaphors of the jeweled trees and the beautiful lakes and the gems and all those wonderful things to kind of show us what this world where, there's no hindrances of our own ignorance or ego, where, the world is shining and we can see the value and the teachings reflected in everything. And so I think that's still our world right here. Even though it looks pretty rough to our eyes right now, when we are listening to the Dharma teachings, we can see the world as it really is, like a classroom, a place for us to always be learning. And so, I was studying what Dr. Nobuo Haneda said about the Pure Land. So the Pure Land is described as a place where everything in it is from the Amida Buddha to the plants and sounds and birds intended to awaken and teach us. Dr. Haneda says that this is to symbolize the Sangha, the Buddhist community of seekers. Birth in the Pure Land does not mean that we go to a physical place like heaven when we pass away, but in making friends and walking the path together, with our Dobo Dogyo, with our fellow Dharma travelers, with our Dharma friends. He talks about a lecture by Reverend Yasuda Rijin, who said, people say various things about the birth in the Pure Land, but could there be any greater birth in the Pure Land than the fact that we are now learning the Dharma together? This Sangha, this place where we are learning the Dharma together, is the Pure Land. Our being allowed to be part of this place, of this Sangha, is our birth in the Pure Land. Do you think that you can have anything greater than this in your life? Than the fact that you're listening to the Dharma as a member of the Sangha? The fact that we are privileged to be part of the Sangha is our liberation, our birth in the Pure Land. Dr. Haneda concludes that in a Sangha, in the world of Dharma friends, we are liberated from our preconceived notions and attached ideas. We're able to unlearn them. We can become true seekers and true learners. I think that this is the true shape and geography of the Pure Land. Our friends in the world around us become mirrors, showing us the world as it is, interconnected and ever-changing. We can see the Buddhist teachings working in every aspect of our lives, even in the mundane aspects of our life, there is something that is trying to bring us to this greater awareness of the workings of the world and our connection to one another. When we realize this is us, we're filled with a sense of gratitude. We're so fortunate to be able to hear the Buddha Dharma, to have this, coming from all these different sources around us in this Pure Land that is also in the, simultaneously this defiled land that we're living in now. And, as we continue to listen to the Buddhist teachings together, as we hear the Buddhist teachings reflected in, what our friends and family are telling us, what events are happening in the world that are trying to wake us up, we can see the Pure Land, in all of its beauty, in all of its ugliness, right in our own backyard. And before I close, I would feel wrong if I did not mention the violence that erupted this last week in the Middle East. Together with the people around the world, I mourn the deaths, injuries, and the missing people among the Palestinian and Israeli peoples, and lament the escalation of terrible escalation of violence against civilians caught in the crossfire there. I hope that we can someday be able to reach beyond our differences of race, religion, and all those past animosities of history, and truly embrace one another as fellow human beings, people who are worthy of human rights, freedom, and dignity. It's difficult to really know what to say. There's, these things are a teaching to us as well. There are so many causes and conditions from the past that are being illuminated right now. And, I certainly hope that I can, and that we all can, try to act with compassion, humanity, and as much peace as we can in the coming weeks. So yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.